Alright everyone, of course we're talking about Beijing Biden conducting airstrikes the other night in Syria because, yeah, America is back. All the Bluemaga people keep saying that, oh, we're so patriotic. They wave the flag around. It's like, you might as well just become a GOP loyalist. It's very fun. I expect them to take up a thin blue line at any time now and just say, well, we want to reform the police, but we really love the boys in blue. We want to reduce their funding and, send them in to get shot, and we'll send social workers in for half the calls, but other than that, we really love them. But Biden, when he said America's back, I warned of this a couple days ago. One component of that America is back neolib message is going to be war. Or at least conflicts. We're not at war. We are engaged in a foreign conflict. We're not invading anyone. We're protecting America's interests abroad. We're not getting involved in world policing. We're helping an ally out. This is what we're going to be doing. You can expect more strikes in Syria. And it was funny because this is prefaced. They're acting like it was defensive. Like Politico is like, oh, they were defensive strikes. So like, don't worry, millennial leftists. Oh, we're not getting involved in more Middle East shenanigans. Beijing Biden wouldn't do that. No. Trump was the evil dictator wannabe fucking war pig. Not Joe Biden. Joe Biden is a peaceful angel. Just like Obama. This was prefaced, these rocket attacks that they're using as an excuse to call this a defensive strike on U.S. forces there by these Iran-backed militias is prefaced on the fact that NATO and all these other countries are planning to surge back into the region in both Syria and Iraq. Why do we have a single troop in the nation of Syria would be my question. They're like, well, we need to make sure ISIS doesn't come back. ISIS was not dealt with by U.S. policy. The biggest success Trump had was withdrawing most of our efforts in the region and letting the Iranian militias, which are the ones pissed off at the fact that we're going back in, come out so that ISIS would get curb stomped. And it worked. ISIS got its ass kicked. Basically, it's holding on in Libya. There's some ISIS assets scattered around the broader Middle Eastern region, but they're a shadow of what they were at their height under Obama. They were having fucking parades through cities all over the Middle East. Syria and Iraq, and down and operating with impunity in Lebanon and Yemen and some of these other countries, and certainly North Africa, East Africa too, partnering with Al-Shabaab. Now they've been reduced. It was funny because this was just after Obama called them the JV team. That was not a wise strategy. That was essentially, if the MSM hadn't covered his ass, it would have been about as popular as when Bush unfurled the Mission Accomplished banner. And it was just about as effective. Now we're doing airstrikes again on these forces. But we don't need to, because we don't need to defend anything in the region. Oh, are we going to make sure that ISIS doesn't come back? Dude, we are directly partnered with Al-Qaeda in some of these regions. Don't you think our foreign policy has been a disaster? Trump, to his great credit, decided, nah, we're not going to back these people. Let them fight each other. Yeah, let the Iranians go in. They're allied with Assad anyway. We began to allow Assad to reassert hegemony over his own fucking country. Is Assad a good person? No, he's a dictator. Is Assad a kind person? No, his kindly dude shtick doesn't work on me. Is he certainly the lesser of all evils that could be in the region? Yeah, by a long shot. Yeah, but let's see. You can have the dictatorial dude who nonetheless protects the Yazidi, protects Christians and even Jews in the region, and by and large has at least semi-autonomy. He's not a pawn of the Iranians, he's a partner of the Iranians, exercises some degree of economic latitude in the region. Or would you rather have like the FSA in charge? The only difference, I loved it when people said, well, the militants we're backing are different from ISIS. Yes, absolutely. The FSA wanted an Islamo-fascist regime which would be sovereign. ISIS wanted an Islamo-fascist regime which would bind multiple countries together into a sort of pseudo-caliphate. But they were still Islamo-fascists. The FSA just, was more reluctant to cut people's hearts out of their chest and make YouTube videos of it. That's the biggest difference. Still killing people, still enslaving people, still trying to usher forth a theocratic regime, and that would be unstable, and certainly no friend to Western interests. Not unless you wanted to partner with another tyrant that you're going to have to overthrow 10, 20 years later when they decide that they want sovereignty. That's just the way that it works. That's the way that our foreign policies worked. We went into Iran multiple times. We helped Saddam gas the Iranians. Then we decided Saddam was a bad guy and worked with Shia militias. It's bullshit. It's never going to bring stability to any of these countries. And there's no reason for us to be there. Our troops shouldn't be coming under rocket fire because our troops should be elsewhere. At the very least, put him in a place like Iraq, where at least the standing government is willing to deal with us. You don't even get that in Syria. If you can't get support from them or any of the other groups in the region except marginally some of the Kurdish groups, what the fuck is the point? So yeah, I eagerly await seeing the same liberals that condemned airstrikes that Trump did launch, like against the Syrian air base there that one time, calling this an act of war. But the Bluemaga people won't, because they're just Dem partisans. We finally found a small group of people that actually like Joe Biden. Why do they like him? It's not because of policy. It's because he has a D after his name. That's really the only reason. They like him because he's not Donald Trump. They were told for years that Trump was an evil person. And so the alternative, must be good. Because a lot of people, they're very soft in the head. They're like Joe Biden, which may be why they support him so much. They just can't wrap their minds around things being more nuanced than us versus them. Up versus down, black versus white, the FSA and ISIS. Well, I don't like ISIS, therefore the FSA must be good guys. Assad is bad, therefore, warmongering in there, it's okay, we can back whoever we want, as long as it's not evil dictator Assad. Politico told me that he ate babies and shit. They did this shit with Saddam Hussein as well. Is Saddam a good person? No, he executed tens of thousands of people. He was absolutely nuts, his sons even more so. Was it a good idea to remove him from power? No, it wasn't. Far more people died, far more calamity occurred, and we wasted trillions of dollars. And we were sold that war on lies anyway. We were told that he had something to do with 9/11, which we later realized was fucking bullshit. Didn't they say he was trying to get uranium from, like, the Sudanese government or something like that? And this is, by the way, the theater in Syria is different from even that in Iraq. I support leaving Iraq too, but at least the standing government that is there, that has been elected, is somewhat willing to work with the U.S. That's not the case in Syria. So you have a lot of people conflate these different theaters and actions with one another. For instance, like the Afghani government wants the U.S. there. In fact, they want more of a U.S. presence. The Somalian government, what little government actually exists there outside of Islamofascism, they wanted us there. We withdrew from that. I think, personally, that was a mistake on Trump's behalf. But Syria? Nobody wants us there, except for Islamofascist militias that happen not to be Shia in nature. We're fighting a losing battle. It makes absolutely no sense. Beijing Biden, though, he's a warmonger. We'll probably have a wider involvement in multiple countries. This isn't going to be a one-off. Oh, America's back, man. You can't just fire rockets at our troops. Well, you're in their country for no reason. No legitimate reason. There's nothing strategic about us being there anyway. We're not propping anybody up. The militias that we backed lost. It's time for the neoliberal globalists to realize that unlike in some countries, our attempt to foment civil war there failed. Much like it did in Egypt, when the people of Egypt and the military rose up to kick out the government we helped to install because it was trying to destroy the somewhat secular order in Egypt that maintained stability for decades and decades. We lost that venture. Good, by the way. It would have been a disaster. Can you imagine if we had knocked out the Egyptian economy? How much of the world's cotton comes from the Nile River Valley, dude? Yeah, that would be wonderful for... By the way, it'd be great for Turkish diplomacy based on their textile industry. I'm sure that Erdogan wouldn't have used that as a reason to snuggle up to Putin. I'm sure he wouldn't have been looking east instead of, trying to straddle the line still. Based on the lagging economy, got enough problems already. U.S. foreign policy seems to have been designed by a bunch of orangutans that threw darts at a board with random ideas on it, and then they just said, well, we'll pick the first 5 darts that hit, we'll find whatever's closest, and we'll smash them together, and that's a foreign policy. Oh, okay, invade Syria and work with Al-Qaeda. Go into Afghanistan and fight Al-Qaeda. Overthrow Libya and let ISIS take over the country. This is nuts. This is continuing to be in Syria is fucking nuts. And Joe Biden's nuts too. It's not a war, it's just a conflict. As Carlin would say, soft words for soft minds. That's about all. Peace out.